picture this, you're standing at a starting line, not your first race, not even your 100th. 3 decades of hurdles and high jumps, sprints and shot puts. Your body aches. Your daughter's asked if you're pregnant because your stomach is so bloated. You haven't slept properly in weeks. The chronic fatigue is crushing. Do you walk away or do you run? Jodie Albrow chose to run. At 43, she's a GB Masters athlete, world champion and a mother of 2. She competes in the heptathlon. That's 7 events across 2 days. And she's been doing that since she's 11 years old. But 18 months ago, after winning the World Indoor Championship gold, everything changed. Nagging back pain, misdiagnosis after misdiagnosis, a 4th place finish where she competed through agony. Then came the diagnosis, a chronic illness that causes debilitating pain and extreme fatigue. For many athletes, it's career ending. In this conversation, Jodie takes us from that first hurdle she jumped as an 11-year-old with no fear to running 150 metres 8 weeks after an emergency C-section and bursting into tears, to standing on world championship podiums while managing an invisible illness. This isn't just a sports story, it's about identity, resilience, motherhood, and what it means to keep showing up when everything in your body is screaming at you to stop. If you've ever wondered whether you're too old to start something new, whether chronic illness means giving up what you love, or whether showing up imperfectly is still worth it, Jodie has your answer. Hi Jodie, lovely to see you today. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So today you are sharing your journey in athletics, but before we get going, tell us a bit about yourself and how you got into sport and some of your achievements.
Hello, my name is Jodie Albrow. I have been doing competitive track and field athletics for 30 years. I started when I was 11. The maths doesn't quite work on that because I'm now 43, but maybe let's blame COVID for one of those lost years. I took a brief break, I suppose, in my mid-30s to have children and then came back. I represented England as a senior, and now as a Masters, I compete for GB in Northern Ireland. This year, I took a bronze in the European Champs and the Indoor World Champs for the heptathlon and the pentathlon. I've always done multi-events, so either 5 events on one day or 7 events over 2 days. I know, it's crazy. And I have had spells where I've tried not to do multi-events, and I always come back to multi-events because I just absolutely love it and the people. How did I get into athletics originally? I was always the kid that won sports day at primary school. And when I got to secondary school, I think it was the deputy head teacher there, a lady called Mrs. Clay, who's an absolute legend, took hold of me in a PE lesson and said, "You're quite quick," and sort of spent my lunch times from then on in for 7 years doing athletics. And it transpired she was the chair of a local athletics club. So I went and ran for that athletics club at weekends, and it all kind of escalated from there. And I always joke with people and say, I'm like a stick of rock. If you cut me in half, it would say athletics all the way through the middle, because I literally think about it non-stop. It's really sad to admit it out loud, but it is all I think about. I love pulling on my trainers and being in the fresh air. Like, I don't think there is a more liberating feeling. I've had spells when I've been injured and I almost walk past my trainers in the hallway and pine for them. I think there is an element of just feeling free when I'm running, and it clears your mind. It's like therapy without speaking, I suppose, for me personally. I've met some incredible people through athletics, be that fellow athletes and coaches, or even officials that help with athletics. I have met some incredible people on the journey, and I have never even contemplated not running. Someone once said to me, "But what keeps you going?" I was like, "Running keeps me going. Like, it's not what keeps me running. Running keeps me going." I feel like it balances out everything else I have going on. And I could have had the worst night's sleep or the worst day at work or an argument with one of the kids. And if I go and run or jump or throw, just go and do athletics, I will feel better about it. It doesn't always fix it, but it will clear my head and allow me, I suppose, headspace to think about things. And yeah, I couldn't imagine life without it.
Do you know what? You're absolutely right, because I've only been doing high rocks at least for a year and a half, and a lot of that involves outdoor running. I was a fair weather athlete. You wouldn't catch me outside in the cold or rain or whatever. And now I am. But you're right. When I do the track runs, you kind of zone out and release it in a way without necessarily thinking about it. And then you come back ready to go. And I've heard people say that before, and I never really appreciated it until I experienced it. And it's such a powerful reset.
Yeah, really powerful, really powerful.
I'm really intrigued with the multi events. How did you transition into doing so many in a day during a competition? That's a lot to train for, improve, and focus on.
It is. And one of the first questions that people always ask me is, what's your favorite? Which one do you dislike the
That was
most?
next.
So, yeah, so I genuinely don't remember how. You don't start by doing seven, you start by doing three and then five, and that's all on one day. And then you migrate to doing seven across two
Okay.
days. In year seven, found out I could hurdle, loved hurdles.
I love that.
Um,
How you said found out. You tried it. How did you feel the first time you tried it? Were you intimidated? Were you,
no, not
no?
really.
That says a lot.
Yeah, no, I wasn't intimidated. I loved it. There's probably some sort of greyhound or racehorse in me somewhere. I don't know. Maybe in a past life I was a racehorse. I don't know. What makes you go over a hurdle for the first time? Because it's pretty unfamiliar. But I suppose now I do a bit of coaching, and all I'd say is when 11 or 12-year-old comes to you and they're like, I want to be a hurdler, and you do just say, okay, run over them, and you see what happens. And some people just have a more natural aptitude for it than others. And I guess I was lucky enough to be one of those. My best friend at secondary school also was a very good hurdler. So it helped that you're kind of spending, every lunch break with your best friend. We also tried long jump and were both quite good at that because we were quick on the runway. I think we just added shot put to it because I think there was a competition or something at school where you had to do one field event and one track event. I can't remember. It might have been the English Schools Cup or something like that. So she took the long, and I was like, oh gosh, I need a field event to add. So maybe the throwing came from that. So that's three events. Then you're sprinting anyway, so that's the 200. And then neither of us really liked or were very good at high jump initially. Neither of us were very tall. So that one was probably on a bit of a back burner. And how did I get good at javelin? I sustained quite a bad hamstring tear when I was about 15 playing football and couldn't hurdle, but also couldn't sit inside of a lunch break. So as soon as I was able to walk with the hamstring injury, I was throwing a javelin at lunchtime instead. So I got good at that. That's maybe up to six events. And then getting good at the 800 came a lot later. I hated that 800 meters for a long time. And there is this, I suppose, maybe a bit of a misconception that all multi-eventers hate 800. Most of us would like it when it's over because by that stage of the competition, you are pretty tired. I have a smartwatch, so I know that normally if you're doing a heptathlon, you will burn about 8,000 calories. Like it's a crazy amount being part of the multi-events community. There's a lot more camaraderie, I would say, especially
Yeah.
at a senior level. There's a lot more chat because you're with these
Hmm.
people for 2 days straight, right? So it's very friendly. Even with the people that you're trying your hardest to beat, you still kind of look up to them and admire them because it is hard stringing seven things together across 2 days.
And keep smiling as you do.
Yeah, well, we don't always keep smiling, but only when the camera's on you.
So you said that you took a break when you had your children. So how did you kind of manage that time where you're not training as much? And how did you get back into training after the break?
So it's a really good question, and the answer is different from firstborn to secondborn, actually. I think it for anybody that's had children will know you have to listen to your body, but also you learn a lot about your body. So when I was pregnant with Noah, he's my son. He's 10 now. He's my firstborn. I was pretending I wasn't pregnant, I'll be honest with you. So I had a friend that was a physio that gave me, if you sprain your knee, you get one of those white flexi bandages. One day he comes down the track and he's like waving this thing at me, and I'm like, what on earth is that? He's like, I've got a present for you. And he literally bought me the torso equivalent of one of those bandages. And he was like, if you're going to run with that bump, you need to wear this. And obviously, he wasn't worried about the bump and the baby. I'd been told that because I'd ran all the way up to falling pregnant, that it was fine to carry on running. In fact, I was encouraged to carry on running, albeit at a lower intensity. So I wore this bandage, but my physio friend was worried about the damage the bump would be doing to other parts of my body. So with him, I ran until I was about 7 months pregnant. I think I put on 20 kgs. So I put on a lot of weight with him. I ran until 7 months and then I didn't stop entirely. I switched to the bike. Didn't have an easy labour and was quite poorly after I'd had him. I ended up with a C-section, emergency C-section. So the recovery was longer than the kind of standard time from a natural delivery. And I remember being given the all clear by the physician, and I said, can I go running? And they were like, yes, but start off, very, very slowly. And I pulled on my trainers that evening. I fed the baby. I went out, which I think was about 8 weeks. Pulled on my trainers. I went down the track. My coach knew I was going. He said, just jog and see how you feel. And I was like, the liberation lasted for all of 40 meters. And I ran about 150 meters of a 400-meter track. And I got onto the other side and I burst into tears. And I don't know whether I burst into tears because I was exhausted and could never imagine ever doing a whole lap ever again, or because I just felt liberated by the fact I got my trainers back on. But then I had a lot of problems with iron levels and stuff like that. So I did compete, but only at a very local level. By very early 2017, I was pregnant again. So I had Noah and Daisy fairly close together. They're less than a 2-year gap. And I think there was a part of me that thought my body is this out of shape. I knew I wanted to have 2 children. I may as well do it all in one go so that then when I bounce back, I haven't got to do it again, essentially. I ran for a little while, maybe the first 4 to 5 months while I was pregnant with Daisy. And then I switched to the cross trainer because it felt uncomfortable to run. I was doing an hour on the cross trainer a night, probably 6 times a week. I joke that she was almost born on the cross trainer. She wasn't, but my water did break on the cross trainer.
Seriously.
Yeah, in the gym. And I was like, I got to get out of here, else I'm never coming back. Do you know what I mean? I thought if anybody knows, my water just went on there. I didn't leave a mess, to be clear. I didn't leave a mess. She was a natural delivery and I bounced back much, much quicker. And I think it was because I was kinder to myself. I didn't push myself in the same way. Whereas with Noah, I was still trying to hit times. I was still trying to be competitive. I was still running in a group. And I'd be like, oh God, I should have beaten them in that rep. I wasn't kind to myself, really. And I still held myself accountable and I shouldn't have done. So I had all those learnings from how I'd behaved when I was pregnant with him. And I was just different when I was pregnant with her. I went back to training once I've been given the all clear, but I think it was about 4 or 5 weeks after I'd had her in August 2017. I turned 35 in November 2017, which for anybody that does masters athletics will know, that is a pivotal moment in your life because you suddenly qualify to be part of this amazing community of absolute nutcases who decide they're going to compete and have clicky knees, clicky hips, clicky everything. My goal was always to compete in Malaga at the end of 2018, September 2018, 13 months after I'd had her.
Was that worlds or European?
It was world champs. So it was Malaga. So I knew it was only, what is it, 2 hours on a plane. So it's relatively close to home. And that was always the goal, I suppose, when I was pregnant. So I went back to training. Initially, I didn't train in a group. I only lived 10 minutes from my local track. And so does my coach at the time. So he used to meet me in the day and we used to train in the day. And she was in the pram and the coach used to push the pram to keep her kind of occupied. But she was very much part of the journey. And it was all about kind of getting back into it, getting your body back.
Yeah.
I suppose that was the start of the master's journey and falling back in love with me doing athletics. But it is hard, I think, when you've got children. You have to be way more flexible with your training, right? If one of the kids is ill, you don't train, you nurse them at home. I am quite lucky that I've got a bike in the garage. Hoping to get a curve running machine soon. But I've got a bike in the garage, so there was an element of switching track sessions for bike sessions if I needed to, but just being super flexible so that it fitted in with everything else. I was lucky that my body did bounce back after having her in a way that it didn't after having Noah, actually. So for me, having them close together was the right thing to do. It gave me extra time on recovery after having him, which I wouldn't have had I pushed myself back into athletics then.
What does your training look like now as a midlife athlete 8 years
Yeah,
later?
so it looks different now than it would look in the summer. But for anyone in winter training, I am running 4 times a week. I run on a Tuesday, a Thursday, a Saturday, and a Sunday.
When you
Tu-
say running, is that on the track, outdoors, or both?
So Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday is on a track. I've actually challenged myself with something slightly different this sort of first 6 weeks of winter training this year, and I've been doing park runs. I try to do a different one every week, so I don't have a benchmark. I'm trying to beat the benchmark because all the courses obviously slightly different. I ran Bushy last week. It's the original park run, so that was on my list to tick off. 1,500 athletes, which obviously I'm used to
Wow.
8 people in a race, so that was quite a different experience. And claim to fame, Kelly Holmes was in the race. Oh, it's not a race, it's a run. Same run as Kelly Holmes. So no, I didn't beat her before you ask. Um, but I've really, really enjoyed doing park runs through the first 5, 6 weeks of winter training. So I'm back training in a slightly different group this season. So tonight I'm running 10 200s off of 2 minutes recovery, which is pretty horrific. We do tempo runs, so like 75 to 80% over 350, 300 meters, that type of stuff, but all low recovery and multiple reps at the moment. And then once we get into the summer, it will be longer recovery, lower reps. I'm also not doing any technical work at the moment, so I'm not running over hurdles. I'm not
Okay.
running into long jump pits. I'm not going over high jump bars. I did do a bit of throwing last night, but I'm not throwing javelin at the moment because it's too cold. So yeah, a lot less technical and quite high volume. Lots of circuit training to try and get my six pack back because that's been buried for a while. That kind of stuff.
I was just going to say that's really interesting because in my mind, not knowing what training would look like, I thought you would be doing event-based trainings constantly. I didn't realize you'd step back from that for a while. It's really
Yeah, I
interesting.
think especially as you get older, my advice to anyone would be shot and javelin, there's a lot of twisting through your joints. So I give my joints a break from that. And with the jumps, there's a lot of impact. So you have to be careful as you get older because your hips and your knees take a bit of a hammering. So I think it is good every once in a while to have a little bit of break from technical. I'm going to probably start back first week of December. But obviously, once you've had a break from it, you do have to ease yourself back in gently. But I personally don't do technical work over hurdles and jumps and throws all year round.
So, for somebody who might be interested in having a go and following your footsteps at our age, or just
Yeah,
trying something out to see what they might like, what would you suggest?
come and have a go. Come and have a go. Don't think about it. Just pull on your trainers and come down.
Just an athletics club, any athletics club, or
Well, definitely mine would welcome you. I don't know if it's
which
the
is?
same. So I actually run for Belgrave Harriers, but also compete for Sutton and District Athletic Club. And I actually train with Sutton and District Athletic Club because Belgrave is based in South London and I'm a little bit further south. So I train at a more local club, which I then compete for locally. We would happily welcome anybody at David Weir Leisure Centre on Middleton Road in Carshalton. We are a very inclusive club, and I suppose the only prerequisite this time of year to having a go would be warm clothes and a good pair of shoes. Come and have a go, see what it's like. How do you know if you're going to like it if you don't have a go?
This is
So
it.
we would break you in gently. We probably wouldn't start you off on 10 200s, but we'd break you.
That's what I was just going to say. I was just thinking your rigorous training might be a bit intimidating for people. They'd be like, am I going to have to do that?
No, you'd start someone off gently. So it depends. Like if they're already doing park runs, they've got a base level of fitness. So you might be less easy on someone that's got that already got a base than someone who's totally new to it. But no, you would start on gentler, lower impact stuff. If someone is wanting to get fit and doesn't want to start running straight away, you'd put them on a cross trainer so that the
Mhm.
motion is there or a curve running machine's really good. They're the ones that don't have a motor in them. You power them yourself. They're really, really good. Don't stop running quickly on them though, because you will literally fly off the back. So anything like that, just to try and get your aerobic fitness up. 'Cause especially this time of year, aerobic fitness is important because the cold weather will make it harder on your lungs. But anybody that's sat at home and wants to get involved, I would say go and do park run. And if you're worried about doing 5K park run, take your child or borrow somebody else's and go and do 2K park run, junior park run on a Sunday.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Rent a kid, yeah. But you can't go through the finish funnel though. That's the only prerequisite as an adult. You're not allowed through the finish funnel on a junior park run. No, you won't get a time. You'll have to do a stopwatch. But go and do that because there's something quite special about park run, and I can't quite put my finger on it as a sprinter. I find it a really bizarre concept that you don't know where you're finishing until you've got your finish token and you get your result. That's a very weird concept for a track and field athlete, but there is something very, very special about park run, and it's so inclusive as an environment. It's crazy. It's a phenomenal
experience.
Yes, really is. Really is. It's going to be hard for me to give them up, actually. I'm sad I've only got 2 weeks left of park run.
So moving on to the more personal stuff around midlife training and shattering limits, what would you say is one of your memorable moments as a midlife athlete and woman, whether it's training, competing, or just a moment where you've said, I'm an older woman and I felt really powerful in this situation?
So beginning of 2023 started off really, really well for me. I went to the World Indoor Championships in Torun in Poland and I won the gold. My long jump was the best long jump I'd done in literally years, and everything just felt right. I came back home on a high, and then I went back into training and I was getting like back pain that I'd never really experienced before. And it wasn't debilitating back pain, but it was there and I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I think there was an element of me ignoring it and being like, well, if I just carry on training, work on my core, the back pain will go. And then I had a really successful 2023 outdoor season. I went to Pescara in Italy in September and I got 3 European silvers in the heptathlon. Ran one of the best 800 times I've ran as a masters athlete. I took a silver in the individual hurdles, which as a multi-eventer is not unheard of, but it's pretty special. And I took a silver in the mixed 4x400 relay. I think I did something crazy, like 14 different events across 9 days.
Wow.
And I went through the call room about 10 times and it was a crazy schedule. Anyway, I came home and I didn't want to go back to training. And I thought I was just tired because of the competition. And I had a fantastic competition. It really, really was a lot of fun. But I didn't want to start winter training and I delayed it. And I didn't know why I was delaying it. It was very unlike me. I just thought, well, maybe I need time. Maybe I need time. Anyway, went back to winter training late, probably 6 weeks late. And then sort of pushed through training. I was still getting this backache on and off. I've got a friend going, you need to get that sorted, otherwise it's going to hamper you going into 2024. Anyway, I was supposed to go to the European Indoor Champs beginning of 2024, and I fell really poorly in the February. And I went to the doctors and I got diagnosed with a suspected kind of really severe kidney problem or kidney infection. I didn't have all the signs of a kidney infection, but I was shown a lot of the signs. I had a lot of tests done, a lot of scans done. Across a 5 week period, I think I was given 3 or 4 different types of antibiotics to try. And I think 3 or 4 days into a new antibiotic, if it wasn't working, then they changed the antibiotic and I had to try another set. That caused really, really bad gut problems. And then I had quite bad digestion problems. And then it settled down. So I went back to training, wasn't running well, was running really badly. And I just put it down to the fact that my body had been through a lot. And then I still went to Gothenburg, which was, in hindsight, was a really stupid thing to do. I'm willing to concede that now. And I get tearing up now. I had my worst ever heptathlon finish. I finished fourth. And for anybody that's been on a podium, or maybe people who haven't been on a podium even, finishing fourth is a really, really challenging position to finish in because you're so close, you can almost smell it. But I'm significantly below par. I competed in a lot of pain. I took painkillers to compete. I rubbed deep heat into my back. I cried a lot. That didn't help. I really, really stupidly flew home. Well, not stupid to fly home, it was stupid to fly back again. I flew home because it was in August. Daisy's birthday's in August, so I flew home to celebrate her birthday. So I thought, I'll hop on a flight home, I'll celebrate her birthday with her and fly back to Gothenburg. I think it was 5 or 6 days later, and do the sprint hurdles. I'd finished fourth in the heptathlon, so I was going back for a little bit of redemption. Gothenburg, in the meantime, had some kind of weird weather situation going on. I'm not kidding you. We had to run in an absolute monsoon. I've never seen weather like it. It was like a survival contest. It was raining so hard. You couldn't stand at the start line and look down the line of hurdles. You had to look at the floor because the rain literally hit you in the face and blinded you. Yeah, and I managed to finish fourth in the hurdles as well. And I'm like, you are the biggest moron I know, Jodie. And then you got people saying, you're going to run relay. I was like, no, I'm not running relay. I'm getting on a plane. I'm going home. Because that was the moment, I suppose, when I knew I should not have competed in those championships at all, let alone flown home and gone back again. But I did what I did. And sometimes you learn a lot about yourselves in that situation. And what I learned was that I wasn't okay. There was a problem with my body, whatever that might be. So I went back to the doctor and I said, there's a problem. And she said, you need to go physio. I said, go physio once every 2 or 3 weeks. There is not a fundamental problem with my back as far as my physio is aware. I can get him to write you a report. It's another problem. Anyway, I ended up with a referral to a gynecologist who then did a whole load more scans. He didn't diagnose, but he said, if it's okay with you, I'd like to do a laparoscopy, which is basically an internal exam with a camera, because I think you do have a problem that is causing all this pain. Off the back of that was diagnosed with endometriosis, which is a chronic illness. And one of the massive side effects is pain. And that pain manifests differently in different women. And the pain comes and goes. Actually, it doesn't go for all people, but for me, the pain comes and goes with my cycle. So, which made sense why I sometimes had the back pain and I sometimes didn't. It wasn't an illness I was aware of. And when you look it up, the average diagnosis time for endometriosis is 9 years.
Oh.
I think it's because they have to do an operation to diagnose it. I felt really, really lucky and blessed, actually, that I got my diagnosis within, let's call it 2 years, and then went back to training. And I put on a lot of weight, all linked back to hormones. I suppose it's a little bit like, a lot of people can relate to, I don't know, for me it's crisps, right? Everyone's cravings are different, but for me it's ready salted crisps, and it's the crinkle ones that really get me going. But if my hormone level, I suppose estrogen levels are high, I crave them. And I'd gone through, I suppose, 2 years of this without really knowing that my estrogen levels were out of control, which is what feeds the endometriosis. And I put on weight. I don't know how much weight I've put on because I didn't get weighed, but I just know from looking at photographs that I'm heavier than I was when I won the world champs in 2023. So I made a decision. It's not that I don't care. That I would pull on my running kit as normal and go out there and compete, even though I was carrying a lot of extra weight, mainly in my quads, my bottom and my stomach. My stomach at certain times of the month, my daughter will say, are you sure there's not a baby in there, mummy? Because it's so bloated. Some months are better than others. Some months I don't bloat at all. Other months I still get the question. But I decided that I would compete anyway. My coaches are all fully aware. Sometimes I'm so tired, I can't think of anything but sleeping. So I would just have to have a 2-hour nap and then crack on. Chronic fatigue is one of the side effects, and I say it's probably the side effects that hits me the hardest. A lot of people will say to me, you look really tired. I want to say, yeah, you have no idea. Like, I'm really tired. So that's, I suppose, been my challenge and the biggest thing for me to overcome in deciding that having endometriosis doesn't mean I'm not going to compete. It means that I have to be kinder to myself, and it means that in certain times of the month I have to say to my coach, I know he's timing me. We have an unwritten agreement that when I say to him, I don't want to know my times, I really mean I don't want to know my times, because my legs are heavy, my torso's heavy. I just want to run, and I don't want this pressure of, by the way, that was a second and a half slower than it was supposed to be. Do the reps, get the volume in, bank the session, and really the time doesn't matter. It really doesn't, because actually this has become more like a mental health battle than a physical thing. And actually, by going and running and not knowing my time, I get the liberated feeling. I feel better about everything else, but I don't have this pressure of you didn't hit the times.
Yeah.
Because when you're training for a 200 meters or a 80-meter hurdles, you are aiming for a time. You are always being held accountable. And there's this amazing and totally horrific, all at the same time website called Power of 10, where there is nowhere to hide. All your best performances will be on there. But by the way, all your worst performances will be on there as well for anyone to see. So I don't go on Power 10 a huge amount. Well, I do. I go on there to see what my fastest times are. But I have to be kind to myself, and I have to say, do you know what? Sometimes a competition is going to fall at the wrong time for me. And you have to be able to go, okay, take a deep breath and tell yourself you can do it, because you can do it. But everything in your body sometimes fights against that. So it's important that you don't fight against that as well. I've got a really small circle of incredibly amazing friends who all know what I'm going through and are so supportive. It's crazy. And they say things to me like, the event wouldn't be the same without you. The competition wouldn't be the same if you weren't there. Who am I going to share a room with if you're not there? Who am I going to have dinner with if you're not there? And it's things like that that make you think, actually, the winning medals part for me now is an absolute added bonus. And it's not the winning medals that motivates me to train and get on a plane. It's if I gave up athletics, I would be giving up a part of me. And that's absolutely not what I want to do. And I think as you get older, everyone blames hormones for everything. And you know what? They've probably got a lot to answer for. Went to the opticians last week, right? I've worn glasses since I was 5 years old, worn contact lenses since I was 14. And I do have quite a complex prescription. It's different in each eye. And I sat there in the opticians, I go every year. And she went, "What age are you?" I was like, "I'm 43." And she kind of did this face again. And I was like, what is she doing?
What?
And she was like, "I'm afraid you've hit that age where the hormones have kicked in and you're going to need reading glasses." And I'm like, are we literally blaming our hormones for everything? And anyway, so it transpires now I need to get reading glasses. And my hormones are being blamed for that as well. So I'm like, right, like seriously, I'm going to get myself a sexy pair of reading specs and rock them. Like, I don't care.
Do it. Do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And we're going to blame them for everything. That's fine. We're going to blame them for the fact I'm addicted to ready salted crinkle cut crisps, for the fact that sometimes I feel like I need 2 hours sleep in the middle of the day. But I'm absolutely not going to use them as an excuse to not pull on my trainers and get out there and do what makes me happy. I think that's what a little bit what parkrun has taught me. So I've done a different course every week. And because I've done a different course every week, my time is different every week. And there's quite a big range on my times, because sometimes you encounter traffic on the route. I did a 4-lap course one week, and you catch up with the people that are running a slower time than you. And so you do encounter traffic. Some courses are flatter than others. And so my times have varied. And what I've realised is actually it doesn't matter what time I've done for the 5K. What matters is that I've done the 5K.
Yeah.
So falling ill and being diagnosed with endometriosis has taught me is to be kind to myself. And just because you don't feel 100% doesn't mean you can't still do what you love. You've just got to be kind to yourself while you do what you love. Do something. Yeah. And even if it's not running, go for a walk. We introduced this thing at work called walking therapy, where if you're having a catch up with somebody that doesn't need to be like sharing a screen or talking through content, if it is literally a catch up with each other, don't do it sat down, do it out walking. That half an hour catch up is so much better if you're walking than it is sat at your laptop. Like it really is. And if you can do it in the fresh air, even more the better for it. So I'm a massive advocate for just do something because I do believe in most cases it will make you feel better.
So as we wrap up, I want to ask you one more question, Jodie. What does movement mean to you now in midlife? If there were a word or two, what would that be?
So for me, it's everything. Liberation. You free your mind, don't you? So freedom from your thoughts and liberation from whatever's keeping you, not free from your thoughts. And I think it's funny, isn't it? Because the more liberation you need, maybe the longer you run for. I suppose it's a fundamental part of my life, actually. I don't know what I would do without it because, as I've already spoken about, I don't like walking past my trainers, I like putting them on. And I don't think it matters whether I'm going to the track or going for a walk or going to park run. I just love the thought of being out in the fresh air and moving. I find it very cathartic, whether I'm able to hold a conversation or totally out of breath. I have to say, I find it tougher this time of year, in the autumn months than I do in the summer months. I'm definitely more of a fair weather bunny, but I never don't do it because of the weather. And I don't really walk past my trainers because I couldn't imagine my day without some form of outside movement, really.
Well, thank you so much, Jodie. This has been amazing. And before we go, I don't know if you want to share your socials. Where can people find out more about what you're doing?
Oh, I'm super easy to find on Instagram and Facebook, but there's more reels on Instagram, so that's the one I would suggest. Just search for Jodie Albrow, Albrow, and it's not a particularly common first name or surname, so you will find me.
Brilliant. And if people want to find out more about Masters Athletics?
Google your local athletics club, and if you don't get any luck with your local athletics club, then get in contact because the British Masters Athletics Association is a network of people across the country, and unless you live on a very remote island somewhere in the UK that I'm not aware of, I'm sure there'll be a contact somewhere that could find you a local running club. Failing that, the Parkrun website is amazing at telling you where your local park run is and how you can get involved. The other thing with Parkrun, actually, before I go, the other thing with Parkrun, it's run entirely by volunteers. So no one benefits from helping at Parkrun. So if you're not sure if you wanted to do a parkrun, you could start by volunteering and seeing how much fun everybody has doing one. And then you'd be like, okay, now I'm going to run.
That's a really good suggestion. Thank you. So thank you again, Jodie. This has been amazing.
Thank you. Ciao.
I don't know about you, but I need to sit with this for a moment because what Jodie just gave us isn't a neat, tidy story with a perfect ending. It's messy, it's real, it's still unfolding. You know what struck me the most? The moment when she said her friends told her the competition wouldn't be the same without you. Who am I going to share a room with if you're not there? That right there. We spend so much time obsessing over performance metrics, the times, the weights, the medals, the numbers on the scale. But Jodie showed us something different. She showed us that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is redefine what success means. Success could be pulling on your trainers when your stomach is so bloated when your child asks if there's a baby in there. Success is running 150 metres when you once ran kilometres and allowing yourself to cry about it. Success is telling your coach, I don't want to know my times because today, just completing the session matters more than the time it's taken. Here's what I want you to take with you. You don't need permission to start. Jodie didn't overthink that first hurdle. 11 years old, no fear, just jumped. Whether you're 55 or 75, if you're curious about athletics, about running, about movement, just pull on your trainers, find your local park run, try something. Don't wait for the perfect moment. It really doesn't exist. Your body will change, your goals can too. From winning world championships to just wanting to cross the finish line without knowing your time, both are valid. Both are victories. Give yourself permission to adjust the goalposts as life shifts around you. Chronic illness doesn't have to mean game over. It might mean a different game. Jodie's living proof that you can compete at the highest level while managing endometriosis, while navigating hormonal chaos and dealing with chronic fatigue. You just have to be willing to be kind to yourself. And that kindness, it's not weakness, it's strategy, and it's necessary. Build your circle small and strong. Jodie mentioned her incredibly amazing friends who know what she's going through. Those relationships didn't happen overnight. Invest in the people who will say the competition wouldn't be the same without you when you're ready to quit. And finally, running keeps you going. Find that thing, that activity that isn't just exercise but therapy without words. That thing that clears your mind, that makes you feel free, that reminds you who you are when life gets overwhelming. Protect it, prioritize it. Pull on those trainers, especially when you don't feel like it. Because here's the truth Jodie taught us today. You don't have to feel 100% to do what you love. You just have to be kind to yourself while you do it. And you've got to show up. So here's my challenge to you. Don't wait until another day. Take one small action this week, as usual. Go to the Parkrun website, find your nearest event, Google your local athletics club, send Jodie a message on Instagram. Yes, she really does respond and she'd love to hear from you. Or maybe just go for a walk. Pull on your trainers and step outside. Feel the fresh air. Because 30 years from now, you won't regret starting messy. You'll only regret not starting at all. Thank you, Jodie, for showing us what real strength looks like. It's not always standing on a podium. Sometimes it's just showing up. And to you, listening, thank you for being here. If this episode moved you, share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Until next time, be kind to yourself. Pull on those trainers and remember, something is always better than nothing. And sometimes something is everything.